Blessing to the city. You're listening to CCFM 107.5. 107.5. The Big Positive Guy on CCFM 107.5. 107.5.
Absolutely amazing music right here on CCFM Drive. We gave you the sounds of Limo Blaze. That one's titled Little Longer. Straight after that one, Called Out Music with Joy. Absolutely love that one. It's a bang. And of course, one of my favorites as well, the Spirituals came through with Wade in the Water. That's the live edition, taking us to 16:17 Central African time. If you've just tuned in as well, it's about that time where we have that conversation that we always enjoy. Positive ones, excuse the pun, or rather pun intended, should I say. But also, you know, what I love about these, it's always lessons that we can take with us, get an opportunity to implement into our practical day-to-day lives. Of course, I'm talking about the one, the only, the gorgeous Andre, the Big Positive Guy.
The Big G, Big Positive Gorgeous.
The Big G. He's got a, is it called a cost? No, it's not a cost.
I was going to ask, what's going on, gorgeous Andre?
I had a fight.
Who won? Needless to say,
A
who won?
potato. I decided to cook for the week and I peeled vegetables for 4 hours and I can hardly use my hand.
Oh.
But you know you're getting old when you get wounded by peeling potatoes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, so you've definitely been active this weekend.
I was just feeling like a springbok there. I was training in peeling carrots and potatoes.
Tina Be Alive, dressed in our wonderful Springbok colors there. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. In fact, I've got an accountability announcement.
Okay.
I've done my first box for the week.
Yay.
And I found some great treasures in there, like old articles from when I was sick in the newspaper, magazines that have been featured in and things like that. So, but yeah, I think
it was amazing. We found you magazines and all kinds of things with big 3-page spreads.
For context.
I was about to say
okay,
for context.
You can go ahead.
You take it.
No, I insist. You go ahead.
So for context, last week's conversation, we were asked, it was touching on spring cleaning, you know, and just, you know, accountability and things that we had to do. And of course, Tina Be Alive mentioned, you know, that she has lots of boxes. There's lots of unpacking that she needs to get done. Andre even made the joke and say possibly next year will be done with all of that. So it's so exciting to hear you say that you've begun that process. And you said there are lots of magazines that you found.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She's quite famous, this girl. I didn't realize how famous she is.
Oh, man.
I think most importantly, like everybody today, my blood runs green and gold.
Love it. On that note, beautiful game on Saturday. I think beautiful is an understatement, but I think we saw quite a lot of unity, I think, amongst people just watching and celebrating. I mean, I watched it at home, but I can imagine the restaurants just packed with a vibe and excitement.
Historic one as well.
Yeah.
Considering, you know, the statistics and when lost as well, South Africa has done that. In fact, I think it's the first team ever to have done it 4 times. To have beat the mighty All Blacks and take the Freedom Cup. Of course, we're going to be having a conversation.
Yes.
Not about the Freedom Cup, though.
Or the rugby.
No.
Not again.
Yeah.
Not again, but possibly on how. I never actually thought about this topic or angle, but if there is a way to win or if there is a way to lose, possibly even touching on things such as the attitudes and characteristics and attributes that come from either winning or losing as well.
Or even lessons, I think, from failing.
Yeah, so when I watched the game, so one of the things that I did the whole week is I watched every podcast, every single thing that was said, till my wife was going berserk and she was like, please don't make another rugby thing. And I watched all the old games just to remind myself how good they were. Then we watched the rugby, and then immediately afterwards I started looking for the press releases, and I found both of them, by the way. The first one was Rassie and Sia. And I sat there and I was just so proud of those two. They were just such classy gentlemen. And then the press was going, yeah, you know, like we've now beaten them 4 times in a row. And we've beaten them, you know, since 1949. No one's ever beaten them 4 times in a row. And Rassie turned around and said, you know, it's nice, But I must just tell you something, is that they've beaten us 4 times in a row, multiple times, and they've never said a word. So he says, don't get too excited. We've beaten them once, but just respect them for who they are and enjoy the moment. But just understand. And immediately I just saw what he was doing. He was saying, don't get too big for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't get overconfident. Don't start pushing it. Don't pretend that you're something that you're not. And I love that. And it just showed to me like a real classy thing. 10 minutes later, they interviewed dear old Razor, and the aggression from the journalists was unbelievable. They were so vicious towards them. And I thought to myself, this is a World Cup winning side that has like a 95% world rate. Yeah. They lost in the final by 1 point to us.
Yeah.
They lost 1 game to Argentina. They beat 2 games of England. And now they've come and beaten, or should I say lost, to the World Cup champions at home by less than 4 points in both games. And their guys are tearing them apart.
Sheesh.
They're no longer successful. So I thought to myself, are there lessons that we can learn out of winning? And are there lessons we can learn out of losing? So let's just quickly start out of winning.
Yeah.
I think Russie is a class actor. He really is a class actor. And every time that our guys get too big for their boots, he just brings them down a little. And I think there's something to be said for being humble.
Yeah.
Or in the old days, we used to say gracious when you're winning. When you've won, this is not the time to go rub it in their face and dance around and say, we beat you, we beat you. This is the time maybe to go see. And probably the best photograph that I saw of the weekend was Sia praying on the field with one of the New Zealand guys who got on his knees and he was praying, Satiti, who had a fantastic game. And Sia put his arm around him and he prayed with him. And I thought that was probably the most classic photograph of them all. I don't know, Tina, were there any sort of incidences that you saw, or did you not watch all the?
No, I don't do the analysis paralysis the way that you do.
Paralysis.
Yeah.
I'm more of a celebrator,
Yeah.
but I need to work on my humbleness.
Yeah. And I mean, that's something that I think a lot of us struggle with, because pride gets in the way, of course, in that event where you win or you've accomplished something, and it's difficult to stay, like you say, humble.
Yeah.
And to go, well, I may have won, but I still need to remember where I come from and what it took to get to that winning mentality or space.
But also the other thing, there's a couple of things that I think it does for us. The one is, I think, confidence. Tina and I were talking about it in the car and saying most of us lose most of the time. If you think about it, other than the All Blacks, most rugby sides would be really happy if they won 55% of their games.
Yeah.
In life, we lose more than we win. But when we do win, it builds up a certain confidence. And I think that's absolutely amazing, because that says to us, we're not rubbish, we can do this. And so we do it again. And hopefully winning leads us to do this again. The other thing which it does is it gives us gratitude. Remember, gratitude equals happiness. And I think if we're grateful, so you must listen to the guys that the big boys are talking, is we're grateful for what we've had, but now we're worrying about Argentina. So we start preparing immediately again. And what was the last one I heard? Yes, hard work gets rewarded, eh? Validation. I was listening to Peter de Villiers a few years ago, and I actually was interviewing him, and I said to him, when you lost the World Cup, how did you sort of plan that whole thing and stuff? And he says, you can't plan to win a World Cup. All you can do is plan to do all the hard work.
Yeah.
And I love that. I've never forgotten that, is that when you win, all that hard work is being rewarded, and it shows you that hard work is good. So winning is nice, eh? If we'd lost to that yesterday, I would probably not be doing this little insert.
It'll be a different topic.
It'll be a different topic, but definitely winning is nice. But again, as they say, what was that year? 1949, since we beat them 4 times?
109, yes.
That's a long time, boy, 50 years. So when we have it in 2024, it's a nice time to celebrate and say, yeah, 70. My grandparents were just getting bored. Actually, no, I was just getting bored.
Yeah. Well, that's the one side of it. That's talking about winning and the lessons that come from winning. I think let's now go on the opposite end, which is not so lucky.
And I think Tina is again my role model in this, is that being held down teaches you resilience.
Mm.
And I think there's a greater strength in the world than being able to bounce back from
Oh, yeah.
bad stuff. Can you see that in the rugby? Is there any similarity? Can you feel similarities
to
to
lose yeah.
losing?
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, it's to be fair, I was diagnosed with a terminal illness right from birth. So right from birth, I was on a losing wicket, and yeah, I mean, no one ever expected me to do as well as I've done, except for maybe me. And I think that also had a lot to do with my faith. I think resilience comes from believing not only in yourself but in something greater than you. And that's why my conviction is so big about the fact that I need to give back and do what I'm doing now as a speaker, to keep the memory of my donor alive and to keep my testimony alive and real, to create hope in the world around us. Because, and like Andre says, the majority of us lose most of the time, but those few moments where we are victorious,
Right.
those are the ones that make all that hard work and that discipline and that all of that kind of stuff worthwhile. And I mean, I can never explain how incredible it was to take my first breath after my transplant.
Sure.
Because for the first time in my life, I felt the oxygen hit the bottom of my lungs.
Sure.
And I've got to take myself back there, because we do take life for granted. We take everything for granted. And especially, I mean, I've moved down here from Durban. I've been here nearly 2 years now, and it hasn't been an easy journey.
Right.
And you do have those low days and those days where you just don't want to get out of bed. And, I hate the world and everyone hates me. And what am I doing here? And I'm wasting my time and all of those sorts of things. And then you have that win, or you have that day out, or Andre and I go and do something and someone comes up to us and says, "Thank you so much, you changed my life."
Sure.
And I think those are the wins that keep us pushing forward.
Sure.
Even the strength, like Andre said, of jumping out of that deep hole, and then having to pick yourself up again. I can't
That's
imagine.
the part that I think is fantastic.
Right.
The lifting yourself up, but provides you with opportunities for growth and learning. And I know it's a very difficult thing to say, but when you sort of got smacked on the head and you're sitting at home and you just want to get your head under the duvet and cry, cry if you want to, but then get up under the bed and start doing whatever you need to do. Learn something from the process. You're only going to get smacked again and again if you don't learn something. And I think what happens, rugby is such a wonderful sport, because what happens is that you don't always win, but you catch up a bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful in life as well. One day you get beaten by 50 points, and then it's 30 points, and then it's 25 points. And who knows, one day in our lifetime, we might actually win the game. And we can celebrate for a bit, but we can celebrate humbly. We don't act like idiots.
Perhaps you have, just before I give over to Romeo, have found yourself in a situation where you were down and under and you had to find the strength that was not your own, and you bounced right back in resilience, and you were able to win. You were able to be victorious. Let us know, 0617981075.
I love that. We're looking now at lessons from failure, and we've touched on two of them, resilience, as well as you touched on the aspect of learning. I think I read somewhere, I've heard some people say one of the best things that can happen to you is to fail fast, because there's a lesson that you can take away from that. And in the example that you are making, if you lose 50 times, hopefully, I am hoping that as you're losing these 50 times, you're learning the patterns of the opposite side, so that you can see, okay, they only form one way, or they only move in one way. There's the gap that I can take. And similar to our lives as well, something that we can use. So I guess, Andre and Tina Be Alive, the next thing I would love to pose out to you is, yes, there's the resilience that we need. There's the learning aspect that we need as well. If we've been losing 50 times, why is it important to be persistent and to come back from those multiple setbacks that hold us down?
Because the pain of losing. I don't know how many other people did this, but after I watched the rugby and I watched the interviews, I then stayed awake and I watched the Argentina-Australia game. Did anybody watch it?
I think everyone just switched off the
Does
TV
anybody
after the
does
match.
anybody even know what happened?
I
But
was
listen,
too
we
busy
won.
celebrating my
Who-
green
who
and
played
gold.
Argentina, Australia.
Argentina, Australia. Remember, there's 3 people that in this competition. It's New Zealand and us, and Australia, or 4 people, and Argentina. Argentina beat the New Zealanders once, and then the New Zealanders thrashed them. Last week, the Australians just beat the Argentinians, and this week they were playing Argentina. I was watching, and I thought, oh, these poor Argies. What happens is within about 15 minutes, the New Zealanders had scored 3 tries.
The Australians.
Australians.
Sorry, the Australians had scored 3 tries, and it was 20 points to 3. And I thought, hier kom 'n pak sla. These poor Argies don't know what they're in for. Hulle weet nie wat hulle gaan weet nie. And then the most incredible thing happened. I think the Australians became arrogant. I think the Argies put their heads down and went for it, and they started scoring tries and scoring tries and scoring tries. And the final score was 60 points to 27 to the Argentinians. And I just thought there were so many life lessons in that game. I was like watching, and then the despondency of the Australians when they realized they had 50 points. And then 1 or 2 of them said, I'm not going to get beaten like this. And then playing again and getting a few more points again. There were so many life lessons happening in that one game. But yeah, it's been a good weekend. I'm all rugbyed out there.
Yeah, sure. Let us know 0617981075. Again, maybe you found yourself being despondent. I like that word. What pushed you back up again to be the victorious person that you know you are? Maybe it's your faith. Maybe you remembered that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you got back up again. We'd like to hear from you. 0617981075.
Winning or losing, the attitude. I'm seeing attitude plays a huge role here. And the different characteristics or attributes that we can get when we look at the coin, either when we've lost or when we've won. Which, I mean, many of us want to be on the winning end. But, you know, I love what you said in the beginning, both Tina B. Alive as well as Andre, when you were mentioning the fact that we lose more times that we win. But many a times, you know, the outside only see the wins and they don't see the L's, the losses, you know, that happened there. And I think that's why sometimes even people just assume that you just win,
Right?
not realizing actually deep
How many
down in the
losses?
roots, you've taken
exactly.
a beating and a half.
Exactly.
You know, but you are able to recover faster because you understand what you need to do, and that's what keeps you going.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to wrap it up. But before I do that, for anyone that wants to reach out to you both and win in their lives with your services, where can they find you?
TinaBalive.com.
The big positive guy everywhere.
I love it.
Everywhere. Don't you want to remind them again about the voice? I think we must do that now. It's not time, eh?
Yes. So Romy and I were actually chatting about it off air. We have a database, and so you've still got a chance to send through your email address as well as hashtag the voice if you want to be added into that database. For context, we will be having a training session. I think we'll call it that. Perhaps you want to.
Let's going to say it's going to be a fun training session.
Okay, fun training session.
No hard work and no homework.
And if you're wanting to better your voice, know how to use your voice better, articulate, projection, all of that will be, of course, presented by Andre, the big positive guy.
And the Commonwealth swimmer is coming to teach us about confidence.
Yeah.
We've got Kevin Abbott coming to give us some voice techniques.
Who else you got?
Tina B.
Uh-huh.
Then the big positive guy. And then Romeo. And Natasha. You were really worried. You
I
thought
see what it did there. I was like, oh, okay.
Nice one.
Yeah, nice one.
nice one.
Well, there you have it. And so on that note, like I mentioned, we do have a database. So please do send through your email address as well as hashtag the voice. The plan is to have it at CCFM Hall. There's no entry cost. You just bring yourself and your willingness
cake
to
for
learn.
the big positive guy.
Yes, and cake.
And gluten-free for Tina B.
Oh man. Any questions you have? 0617981075.
Unfortunately for that one, there's no winners or losers. So that's good.
No losers at all in our lives.
That's an all-winning day.
That's an all-winning day. Love that.
I see people asking when is it happening.
It'll be a Saturday morning.
Absolutely.
So probably from about 9:30 to 12, I'm guessing, something like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it might even be as early as next week if we get all our ducks in
Yeah,
a row. And we're just going to
absolutely.
check with the powers that be if we can have the hall,
Absolutely.
and let's do it.
Yeah,
I've-
but all of the information and communication will be given. This is why we need your email addresses so that we can be in communication.
If you're
with
on
you.
the list, you're
Yes.
in the know.
There we go. 0617981075. Guys, thank you so much for your time.
Hiya, donkey.
Thank you.
Some positivity as we start the brand new week.
And
Absolutely.
be winners.
And be winners.
Winners.
Especially on a Monday, it's so difficult. But yes, be winners. It's the best time to win. Win the Monday, you win the week.
Absolutely.
Winning attitude for the win.
Yes.
If you missed that conversation, you can catch it on Facebook as well as YouTube. That's CCFM 107.5. You can have a listen to it one more time. And then, of course, as I mentioned, or as we mentioned, send through your email address to our WhatsApp line 061 798 1075. More information about the voice training will, of course, be given in due time.